Yo, YouTubers. Yo, YouTubers. It's me again. Roller coaster ride. Let's get straight on with it, eh? We got one viewer. Who's the viewer? Okay, a serious one tonight. A serious live stream, and I want to talk about the subject matter of homophobia and the very deceptive way that the world is trying to make homophobia seem like it's a criminal act, right? And it's a natural thing. Homophobia is a natural instinct. Every male should be allowed to be a homophobe if they choose to be, right? And women, women can be homophobes too, can't they? You know what I mean? Right. But I'm just going to give you a little, a couple of stories about stuff and some things I want to, amplify and talk about with a view to explaining that I've experienced and I've witnessed people from the, in inverted commas, the gay community being extremely deceptive, right? Because the devil's in the detail. I don't care what anyone says. I used to be quite permissive. It never really mattered to me if people were gay or not. You know what I mean? I was permissive. Like, I used to listen to Queen, for example. You know what I mean? I used to think Freddie Mercury was brilliant. You know what I mean? It didn't matter. I didn't care about his sex life. I didn't want to know any about that. You know what I mean? But I used to listen to Queen a lot. So that proves that I'm not instinctively homophobic, or like the way some people are racist with people who are coloured or whatever. They've got like an attitude that they just can't help it. You know what I mean? They've got to be in the bonnet. So I've never been like that. You know what I mean? I was quite permissive, quite easygoing. None of that mattered to me as long as people left me alone. Yeah, right. So I want to talk about a couple of circumstances where I can actually verify that I've witnessed people in the gay community being extremely deceptive, right? And causing trouble even, right? And basically, now, because I'm speaking about this, it's as though we're doing something wrong, you know what I mean, right? Now, this is similar to the homophobe thing, right, that's gone worldwide, where it's not like, if you work in a workplace and you show signs of any homophobia or anything like that, you get a bollocking, don't you? Or you can get the sack or whatever, you know what I mean? And I don't agree with it, you know what I mean? Because I think people should be allowed their own views, right? And it's much like all this business going on, this so-called, you do know that, pandemic, the word pan, it's one of the devils, isn't it, pan? You know what I mean? It's a devilish creature, pan. And the word pandemic sums it up, doesn't it, really, what's going on worldwide? Hold on, just get some chewing gum. Right. And, in this world, we live in a world, right, folks, where people will argue with you even if they're wrong. Do you know what I mean? You could have a legitimate argument, and you say what you think or whatever, and people can actually still argue with you, even though you're actually right, and you're not saying anything wrong, and they'll still argue, right? Now, before I get in deep about the homophobia subject, because on my old channel, which was called King Bruno de Gaulle channel, I put, after seeing David Cameron and Barack Obama, they were both in power at the time, the Prime Minister and the President, they wouldn't say a word against gay marriage, right? And I went, it's the institution of marriage should be men and women. It's as simple as that, you know what I mean? That's not like, it should be men and women, the institute of marriage. All this business with people's lifestyles, being gay or whatever, that shouldn't have anything to do with marriages, right? But before I get into it, I'll give you an example of where people can blatantly argue with you, even though you're telling the truth. Do you understand? And I go back to in these flats. I used to come in these flats years ago where I live, And there were kids who used to know, you know, maybe used to hang out and sit on each other's doorsteps and whatever, like, right. And I remember coming into this block of flats, and one of the lads who used to live on one of the floors, I can't remember which, it might have been this floor, I'm not sure, like. But anyway, he was, it was Christmas had just gone, right. Christmas had just happened, right. And in our house, our mum and dad, you know what I mean, they kind of, well, we got rid of the concept that there was a Father Christmas very early on in our age, you know, because basically our folks didn't really do the Christmas thing. They were always like kind of merry and happy during Christmas and stuff like that, but we didn't make a big deal about it. Not when we were younger, when we were really young, yeah, you know, we used to get like presents and stuff like that. But as we got older, it kind of faded, didn't it? You know what I mean? And you'd always try and make kids happy at Christmas, you know what I mean? I understand that, like, right. But the concept of there being a Father Christmas, you know what I mean? This is the point I'm making. And I was talking to one of the kids on the doorstep, and, hey, Dr. Soulless Dead has arrived, lol. How you going, man? How's things out there? You all right? Okay. So I remember going, these kids who used to live on a couple in this block of flats, right? They were on the doorstep, right? And the lad who lived there, he was a lad I used to knock around with, or I knew him when we were kids. It was a lad and his sister, his kid sister, right? And I always remember going to the doorstep and he's going, look what I got for Christmas and that, like, and he had an acoustic guitar, you know what I mean? It was like one of the first times where I actually looked at a proper acoustic guitar, you know, when I was a child kind of thing. I don't know how old I was, I think I was about 10 or something, I'm not sure, like. I might have been younger, I don't know. But anyway, in my head, in our house, there was no Father Christmas, you know, from a very early age, you know what I mean? We'd banished that, we just didn't, we knew that there was no Father Christmas, you know what I mean, right? So anyway, I'm standing on this doorstep talking to these two kids, and the lad's showing me his guitar, you know what I mean? He's going, look at this, like, Father Christmas got, like, you know what I mean? And I didn't say no. Next thing, the girl comes out and she's got like an organ, you know, a keyboard, you know, an actual, like those plastic organs they have the fan in them, like, you know, used to have a fan inside and go brrrr. Well, anyway, she go, yeah, I'm good. Sound, man, great. So she got an organ for Christmas, right? And anyway, she comes to the door with the organ, puts it on by the doorstep, and she goes, look what Father Christmas got me. Right. And I wasn't being nasty. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't actually think. I didn't actually know, right? You know, I'm a bit, you know, I'm a bit insensitive at times because I'm just straight to just tell the truth. Do you know what I mean? And I said to this girl, I said, you don't think Father Christmas brought you that keyboard, do you? You know, and she goes, yeah. Father Christmas got, you know, and she was only about, I don't know, she might have been about 5 years old, 6 years old, you know what I mean? So I was a bit insensitive, you know what I mean? But I was only telling the truth, wasn't I? Do you understand? I was only being honest, right? So I said to her, Father Christmas didn't get you that. Your mum and dad would have bought you that, you know what I mean? Your mum and dad would have paid for that, right? And they told you Father Christmas brought it, you know what I mean? Because you just think that every kid knows about that, you know what I mean? Anyway. That was all I was clarifying. I was thinking, do you actually think Father Christmas buys you presents? You know, he gets a lot of credit, doesn't he, Father Christmas? And he doesn't buy anyone any presents. You know what I mean? People buy the presents themselves for the kids, don't they? So anyway, this kid flies off in a rage. She goes like a tantrum. She goes, yeah, Father Christmas brought it for me. Yeah, he did. And I was going, he didn't. Your folks bought it. Your parents bought that for you. You know what I mean? Next thing, she storms off into the living room, right? You know, back into the house, into the flat. And I heard her saying to her parents, or her mum was in the living room, right? And I heard her going, that Bruce has just said that Father Christmas didn't bring my presents for Christmas. Right? She goes and tells me off, you know, tells her mum that I've just said there was no Father Christmas, right? So next thing, she goes, whoa, did he now? Next thing, she comes to the front door. The mother comes to the front door. And she's like that. She's standing in front of me. She's standing, you know, the two kids are just looking at her like that. One's got his guitar and she's standing at the keyboard, you know what I mean? And the mum's going, you picture the scene, like, she looks at me and she's proper serious, man, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I did anything wrong, I was only telling the truth, right? And she goes, hey, you, Father Christmas did bring these presents for these kids, and don't you be telling them otherwise, right? So straight away, the woman is lying through her teeth, isn't she? You know, but I took offence because she was losing her temper with me, you know, as if she wanted to hit me or something. Like, I hadn't even done anything wrong. Do you know what I mean? And I was going... So basically, she was expecting me to surrender and say, yeah, you must be right, okay, Father Christmas bought them toys for the kids, you know. So there's an example of someone arguing with me, right? Even when she's wrong, she's completely... I mean, she was looked like she was going to beat me up, do you know what I mean? She was actually cracking up with me, like. And all I did was tell the kid for their own good. I was just saying, you know, your parents bought that. But that's an example, right? That's an example I can go back to when I was a kid, where ruining Christmas is funny. Teachers do it and kids cry. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, man? But there's an example of an adult, a woman, an adult, right, who was getting vicious. She was actually getting angry with me, you know what I mean? Now, in the world of the gay movements, right, if I say to people that being gay is not right and the homophobia is, there's nothing wrong with it, people should be allowed to be homophobic, you know what I mean? I'm just doing the same thing as like I did there when I told that kid there was no Father Christmas, do you know what I mean? But you bet, like, when on this video, if I put it up with the title Homophobia is not a crime, right? Watch how many people click on it, man, how many gay people, right? Because on my old channel, I had a video up called Gay Marriage is Wrong, right? I wasn't attacking gay people and saying, man, you know, I'm not a Philistine, you know, I'm not like a Nazi or a fascist or anything. I wouldn't, you know, have any attitude or cruelty or whatever, like, but you know, when people are bullshitting, they're bullshitting, aren't they, you know what I mean? And on my old channel, I put this video up, Gay Marriage is Wrong, because I was pissed off because of seeing Barack Obama and David Cameron, the Prime Minister, not even attempting to argue against the issue of gay marriage, right? Now, thingy, the Russians do, don't they? You know, Putin, they won't say that gay marriage is allowed, will they? They're kind of like stalling on that issue because they know it's immoral or wrong, you know what I mean, right? Now, do you remember the Olympics, the Winter Olympics at Sochi, which the Russians hosted the Winter Olympics in Sochi, right? And I always remember the fuss in you know, because there's loads in, you know, especially the Americans and the British athletes. There's loads of gay folks amongst them, isn't there? You know what I mean, right? Not being vindictive, not being hateful, you know what I mean, right? But because there was a load of gay athletes in the British team and in the American team or whatever, right? They were kicking up a fuss, like accusing Russia of being homophobic and not right, you know what I mean? Because the Russians didn't like the idea of athletes staying together in the hotel rooms or whatever, or, you know, the places where they stay while they're there, right? So we all know, don't we, in the world of sport, there could be gay athletes and straight athletes. So no one's, like, vindictive. But it turns out, remember all the fuss that all the gay folks were making? They were, like, proper, like, accusing Russia of being, like, you know, under, you know, below the belt kind of thing, unnecessarily cruel or whatever. And when they eventually went to the Olympics and they had the Olympics, it all went ahead perfectly, didn't it? They hosted all the athletes, gay or straight. You know, everyone had it was a decent Olympics, the Winter Olympics in Sochi, right? So you didn't see any, like, the way everyone was making it out, they were as if, like, the Russians were going to be, like, bad to the gays and treat them badly and all that kind of stuff, which was a load of poppycock, wasn't it? You know what I mean? But that's what they do, you see. They'll kick up a fuss about something even when it's not actually happening, you know what I mean? Just to say this, like, being homophobic is wrong, you know what I mean, right? I'm going to give you a couple of examples now where I've seen, like, well, you know, if someone says they're gay, right, they shouldn't have anything to do with females, should they, right? You know, I'm talking about males, right? I'm talking about males. If a guy claims to be a homosexual, or he thinks in his head he's a homosexual, right, he should just stick to what he's saying, claiming to be, shouldn't he? He shouldn't, like, right. Now, I know that in the gay community, they share, like, you know, they have, like sort of, like, sex parties and things where they'll be, like, lesbians and gay dudes are having a bit of a, you know, a fling or whatever. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't want to know anything about it myself personally, but I've seen examples of where the men or the males aren't sticking to what they're claiming. They're claiming they are gay in their blood, in their genes, and all that kind of stuff. But when the circumstance arrives, they might still bang a female. Do you know what I mean? So where's the claim that they're gay? You know what I mean? Where does that go if they do have to have anything to do with females? Philip Schofield, for example, he just recently came out, didn't he, right? And he's been married all this time. He's been married with a wife, remember? And then he was on the telly, wasn't he, saying, "Oh, I've come out, oh, I'm so relieved." So where's his gay genes? Like, if he's been living with a woman all that time and having sex with his wife or whatever, like, did he suddenly not gay all of a sudden when you know, when that's all of a sudden does being gay just go pale into insignificance all of a sudden, like, because they're like, you know, they're turned on by a female or every now and then or something? It doesn't make sense, does it? So what they're saying about the genes and the XY gene or whatever, it's a load of bull, innit? I always, like I say, in my opinion, the devil's in the detail with all those issues. Anything to do with gender bending or anything like that, it's the devil's playground, you know what I mean? Right. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples where I've been really creeped out, right, by the reason, like, I'm trying to back up why I'm homophobic, right, because I am a homophobe, right, but that doesn't just, I mean, it doesn't just mean gay men, it means men in general, right? Homophobia means fear or mistrust of men, isn't it? You know, your lack of trust for other males, right? And the only males I'll associate with, apart from, you know, I know a couple of friends and I'll have a drink with them and that kind of thing. Like, if they work with me in a band or we're in a football team or something like that, you know, where you've got to be teamwork, of course, you know what I'm saying? You know, I don't mind working with people, or when I've worked in factories or whatever, and I've got to work with other, you know, workmates, you've got to work. I don't mind all that, you know what I mean? And I don't, you know, judge anyone or nothing like that, right? But in general, I don't trust males, period, you know what I mean? I think underneath the surface, any man could be a potential rapist, couldn't he? You know what I mean? You know, people go in jail, and there's people in jails, and they don't even admit to being gay, but they still rape people in the showers and stuff like that. You know, all of a sudden, like that, like, where does it come from? You know what I mean? Where does it come from, right? So I remember, like, I'll go into some of these, couple of these little, like, I'm proving that gay folks do deceive. They do actually deceive and lie about stuff to try and suit themselves, you know what I mean, right? First example I've got, right, is when I used to walk home from my girlfriends when I was a teenager, in the 80s, back in the 80s, right? Now, walking through Birkenhead Park, which is not far from me, you know, the place where you see me busking with my guitar and stuff, that's Birkenhead Park, right? Now, people very rarely go into Birkenhead Park at night time because it's quite dark, there's no lights there, you know, there's no lampposts or nothing, it's pitch black, right? But sometimes I used to walk through the park because it's a shortcut. You know, if I was walking back from my girlfriend's from a place called the Noctorum Estate, which was about 4 miles away from where I lived, and I used to walk every night, you see. I used to walk from there, right? And one night I decided to cut through Birkenhead Park, and it was late at night, right? And this big field is pitch black. You know, you couldn't see anything around me. I couldn't see anything around me. I have actually spoke about this on my old channel, so if anyone thinks I'm repeating myself or a bit of deja vu, like, I'm actually, you know, I think it's important, you know what I mean? I want people to know why I think homophobia is not against the law, you know what I mean? It's wrong to insinuate that, right? But anyway, I cut through this park, right? Now, this is the thing about Birkenhead Park, right, guys? They had a place called the gay bogs, you know, they used to call it the queer bogs, you know what I mean? They were toilets, you know, public toilets. And all the gay folks in town used to meet in there, and it was kind of, it was disgusting, basically. It was just like you know, the toilets weren't even, like, in use anymore. They were kind of derelict, you know what I mean? But all these gay folks in Birkenhead all used to meet in there, right? And I'll tell you a story, actually. I actually was standing with one of my friends years ago, and we were talking at the bus stop. You know, when you meet someone in the street and then you talk for hours kind of thing. We were standing at this bus stop talking, and we didn't see one gay person coming in or going out of these toilets, right? We didn't see a single person walking past us and going into the building, right? Do you know what I mean, right? And while we were there talking, the police came, Right, a police car pulled up outside the toilets, what they call the gay bogs, right, or the queer bogs. And this police car pulls up outside the toilets, right, and two coppers get out the police car and they went inside the toilets, right. They must have just been doing a routine check, you know what I mean? So they go inside these toilets, right, and honestly, man, we were standing there for about 2 hours talking and we didn't see a single person walking past or going in or out of them toilets, right. Next thing, you're just seeing, the coppers, like, frog marching, or I think there was about 5 to 7 men were all inside them toilets all that time together, like, you know what I mean? Right, no lights, no electricity, you know what I mean? Like, smashed toilets inside. No one ever went in there, you see, because it was known. We called it the queer bogs, you know what I mean? We never actually went in there. Even if you wanted to piss, you wouldn't use them toilets, you know what I mean? But we seen the coppers frog marching, all these men. They were all gay men and they were all in there all along, you know what I mean? We didn't see them even going in there or leaving there, you know. It's thinking, they were in there all along together. About 5 of them or something like that. And me and my mate were standing there like going, oh my word, look at all them going out. It was like the TARDIS, you know, Doctor Who, the TARDIS, like when you go inside, it's huge. Because they were only tiny, these toilets. They're only a little tiny block, you know what I mean? So it had a reputation, Birkenhead Park, right, where they used to hang out there, right? And even in the past, in the 70s, I don't know whether it was the 70s, well, I think it could have been the 80s, but anyway, there was a lad who lived round here who was actually raped in that park, right, by a gang of gay dudes, like, so there was some unpleasant characters hanging around there, do you get me, right? So they would be more than likely the kind of people to be in them toilets, you know, in the queer bogs, like. So anyway, I was aware that there was some creepy stuff going on. Like I say, this dude was raped at knife point, the person in the 70s, right? By 3 or 4 men, you know what I mean? So there was some creepy stuff in Birkenhead Park, right? Well, anyway, this one night, I was actually walking home through the park, you know, very much aware that, like, you know, well, be aware, like, any gays cruising around or whatever, like, right? So I was quite vigilant. And it was pitch black all around me and you couldn't see. I was right in the middle of the big field. There's like a big field in the middle of it, right? And I'm walking across, man. Can't see anything around me, right? And I can only just hear my feet on the floor. You know, grass, walking on grass, like, basically. But you can hear something, can't you? You can hear footsteps sort of thing or whatever, because it was silent. I'm in the park late at night, you know what I mean? And I'm walking along, and this is the creepy thing. I didn't hear anyone walking around me. I didn't see anything, right? This is why I believe there was something supernatural going on, you know, in the same way that in them toilets, there was like 5 to 8 men all in a tiny little toilet, like their own dimension, you know what I mean? Until the policemen disturbed them, do you get me? Right. What's that noise? Just heard a noise. What's that? So anyway, I'm walking across this field, right? Pitch black. I didn't hear a sound. I didn't hear anyone's footsteps. I'm being really vigilant. I'm looking around myself, you know what I mean? Constantly. Didn't see anyone, right? Next thing, right behind me head, right there, right behind me head, I hear this voice go, "Have you got a light?" Like, and I mean, like, just came from nowhere, man, right? "Have you got a light?" And I turn round and there's this guy standing. He was about 6'2". That was his voice. It was like, "Have you got a light?" Right, and that's how gay folks approach each other in the park. They ask each other if they got have you got, a cigarette? They approach each other with cigarettes and go, "Have you got a light?" And that's their little code word for, "Are you looking for a bit of dick, like, you know what I mean? You want a blowjob and that, like, I'm going to have a blowjob and that, like." I know this is a very bad subject to talk about, but it has to be said, you know what I mean? I think it has to be said, right? So I hear this voice, he was like literally right breathing down the back of my neck, man, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I just heard his voice, so, "Have you got a light?" And I turned round and looked, he was about 6'2", right? He was a big fella, man, and he had a cigarette in his hand like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, And what gave me the creeps is it was like he appeared from nowhere. Do you understand? It was like he came from some kind of dimension or something, or like stepped out of a spaceship or something. Like, there was no way he could have creeped up to me without me hearing him. Do you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, You know, I was always vigilant walking through the park, you know, and obviously because I didn't want to get, like, bum raped, you know what I mean? Obviously very, like... right. So anyway, I just turned around and I went, no, I haven't, I don't smoke. And then I walked away as fast as I could. I didn't say nothing else. I just got out of there, you know what I mean? But he sort of looked familiar and sounded familiar from people I met years later, you know what I mean? But he was creeping around in that park, man, right? Going around, and he was literally invisible. I don't know how it was possible. How it was possible for him to just show up the way he did. And this is bearing in mind someone had been raped in that park years earlier, right? So there's like one example where that gave me the creeps, that man. That made me think, was he some kind of alien or something, man? The way he just appeared out of nowhere, you know what I mean? It just wasn't normal, right? So I legged it out. I sort of walked really fast as I could. Put my hand like, like clenching me buttocks and like, really, I was out of there like a shot. Do you know what I mean? Right. So that's like one of me. That gave me the creeps. That made me think that there might be something supernatural to this, to these kinds of, you know, those kinds of dimensions where they hang out and what they do. Maybe a bit of occultism linked to it, you know what I mean? Because the place was pitch black, you couldn't see. I could only just see his face in the darkness, if you know what I mean. But he had a cigarette like that, you know what I mean? That was his little code word, like he was hoping I'd be gay as well, do you get me? Right. So I was out of there like a shot, and I was very careful going through that park after that, right? And years later, right, when I was working in college, here's another example of where it's like, there's a criminal, like, deception going on in the whole thing, if you know what I mean, right? People need to adjust to it, man. I mean, people who are gay out there should just go straight or be celibate. It's not like I'm asking them to be punished, is it? You know what I mean? It's not like a painful thing to do, right? But anyway, I'll go on about, I'll prove to you why I know men are deceptive. You know, gay men can be absolutely deceptive, like, you know what I mean? When I was working in the college, when I used to work in a typing college, I used to have to meet, you know, school leavers, people who just left school, men and women, males, females, adults. There was like mature students used to go, you know, because this was a typing college. It was, you know, you learned office skills, bookkeeping and things like that, computers and stuff like that, right? So I met quite a lot of people in there. I was there as a student for a year, and I was there as I'm working there for a year, you see. So I was in that building for 2 years, right? And I came across all kinds of characters, you know what I mean? But in particular, this particular day, when I was working in the college, and, you know, we used to get notification, you know, the members of the staff, if someone came into the classroom and they were new and they might have been gay or whatever, they told us in advance so that we didn't, like, treat them differently or give them any, you know, aggressive or... You know what I mean? Just treating them like with contempt or whatever. And this particular day, I'm working in the college, right? And you know, in the college, they used to have like a girl sitting next to me. You know, like a school leaving. You know, like girls that just left school, and they'd help us out for placements. You know what? You know, when they come on a placement and they'd learn some skills and office skills or whatever. So they'd have these teenage girls who used to sit next to me, like, you know what I mean, and they were like friendly with me. You know what I mean, right? And this girl sitting next to me, helping me out or whatever. And a couple of days later, these new recruits, you know, new students all joined the college, right? And we were told in advance by the bosses, one of the supervisors told us that, oh, you know, and he said his name. I can't remember his name, the lad's name, like. We said, don't, you know, he's actually a homosexual, so don't, you know, give him any stick or whatever, if it, you know, because, you know. It's just the way they did it, like in the college. They told us in advance, right? So we've all been told that in advance, right, that this lad is gay, right? He didn't go around telling everyone that, right? And he was a handsome lad, you know, right? He was a good-looking lad, right? He was like a pop star. He looked like a pop star. He just left school, right? And here's the proof that they're twisted, man. This is the bit where, like, you know, we obviously knew he was gay, but, you know, because he was a good-looking lad, the girls were after, you know, the girls, the teenage girls, fancied him, do you get me? They must, you know, had a bit of a crush on him or whatever, you know what I mean? So anyway, the girl who's sitting next to me, and remember, I'd got to know her. She was like my friend, my little helper kind of thing, you know what I mean? I'd got to know her well, and she was a nice girl, do you get me? Right, and she was sitting there, and she goes, oh, I really fancy so-and-so. And she said his name, right? She was saying she had a crush on him, basically. And I was only tipping her off, you know what I mean, to start to know. I wasn't being funny, it wasn't vindictive or anything. And I just looked at her and I said, you don't want to be getting into him, because he's gay. And she's like, he's not, is he? She didn't know, right? And then I said, hold on, hasn't he told you this? Hasn't he actually told you? Or hasn't, because he was actually grooming the girls, do you understand? He was actually grooming young chicks and sort of attracting the attention, right? But he wasn't telling them that he was gay, right? So here's the whole point. She doesn't know he's gay, right? He hasn't told her, right? But he's letting her think that she could get into him, if you know what I mean, right? So there's some kind of grooming game going on, you know what I mean? Because he was a good-looking lad, do you understand? So I'm sitting there and I'm telling her, I said, look, honestly, he is gay, so don't, I wasn't being funny, I wasn't taking the mickey or nothing, I was just kind of like, so she didn't get too involved with him, like, without realising it, if you know what I mean. And she goes, oh, no. And then, but she went and told someone else then, you see, and then it sort of spread, right? And then it all come back that Bruce had told, because we weren't supposed to tell the students if people were gay or not, right? I was just sparing this girl a broken heart, wasn't I, basically, you know what I mean? So anyway, it all comes out, Bruce is responsible for this, you know what I mean? And I got called into the office, got bollocked by the manageress, or my supervisors or whatever. And all I was doing was sparing the girl, right, wasn't I? That's all I was thinking of, right? Sparing her some trouble in the future, right? But anyway, it all kicks off, right? This lad, he flatly started denying that he was gay, right? So he was trying to make it seem like I was out of order, like I had done something wrong by saying he was gay, right? And he actually was. Do you understand? We were told that, like, you know what I mean, right? Now, next thing he does, he contacts some girl who he knew, right? Who was kind of like, she looked like a hard chick, right? Like a hard Scouse girl, right? She come into the college. She wasn't actually one of the students. She wasn't part of the college or anything, right? She comes into the college, right? I'm sitting at my desk with the girl next to me, me helper, right? She storms into the college, this girl. She was quite tough and scary looking, if you know what I mean, intimidating. She looks at the girl sitting next to me and she goes, hey, you call him gay. He's actually my boyfriend and I'm his girlfriend, so he's not gay, all right? Right, and she was threatening. She was like, if you say that again, I'll beat you up or something, She was threatening her, like, you know what I mean? So I just looked at the girl sitting next to me and I went, don't say anything back, just ignore her, you know what I mean? So she came in to threaten her, basically, right, this girl. So it got a bit violent, if you know what I mean. She was threatening to beat the girl up, right? So it all blew up and then it was like, what's all this about, you know what I mean? Right, but the lad was being deceptive because he got the girl to pretend that they were a couple, do you know what I mean? That the gay lad was deceiving us, basically, trying to make us think that this girl was his girlfriend, you know what I mean? Which would have made him straight, wouldn't it? You know what I mean, right? This is like, bearing in mind, he's grooming all the young girls in the college, do you understand? Because there was a lot of attractive chicks there, do you understand? In a typing college. So I knew he was gay, didn't I, right? And I didn't treat him any differently to the other students or nothing like that. It was just because I told that girl to spare her being broken-hearted, right? And I got called into the office, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, you're going to have to apologise to the lad as well, like. They made me apologise to him, right? Which I didn't mind, you know what I mean? I didn't mind apologising to him, right? But this is the thing, right? After him saying that the girl was his girlfriend and that he wasn't gay, right? When he come to my desk to get the official apology from me, right? Because I was forced to apologise. It was part of the job. I had to, like, you know what I mean? When you're working with the public, anything to do with public, you're not allowed to have any homophobia or anything. And I had nothing against him. I wasn't being cruel to him. But anyway, he comes up to me desk, right? And I went, look, lad, I'm sorry about it, right? But I think you were out of order trying to chat that girl up, right? I think you were out of order trying to chat one of the students up, you know what I mean? And then he goes, but I didn't want anyone to know. Right, so he's admitted it. He admitted it to me that we weren't mistaken. He was actually gay all along, right? And he says, but I didn't want anyone to know. I'm like, oh my word, because they shouldn't have told us, really, should they? Really, they didn't want anyone to know. We can't help it if the staff tells us, can we? You know what I mean? So he's blown his gaff there, hasn't he? He's admitted he's gay by saying I didn't want anyone to know, right? And that girl who came in to bully me friend, who was helping me, she was acting hard, you know, frightening her, intimidating her, like she was violent, you know what I mean? So there's an example there, right, of gay people being deceptive, right? That's deception, isn't it? To pretend you're straight and you're not. You see what I'm saying? Where they'll do things because he's grooming the girls. You know, he was grooming the chicks. So anyway, I apologised to him and I said to him, I went, listen, lad, this is what I said to his face, you know, I went, listen, lad, I knew you were gay when you first came in here. We were told, right? I said, but did I treat you any differently to any of the other students? When I was putting your work out or marking your work and all that kind of stuff, did I treat you any differently to any of the other students? And he was like, no, you didn't, actually, no. I was like, did they give you any signs that I was intimidating you or, you know, pissed off with you or anything? You know what I mean? I just got on with it like normal, you know what I mean? But that's the way it goes, isn't it, right? But he was caught deceiving the girls, you know what I mean? He was coming on to them, he was trying to groom them, like, and maybe they have a game where they snare women into the sex circles or something, do you know what I mean? Because they're all just obsessed with sex, aren't they? You know, the whole gay message is advertising what they do in bed, isn't it? Basically, right? Now, here's me final little story about where I've seen evidence of gay people being deceptive, and I've got to speak kind of like metaphorically here, guys, because I don't if I mention people in like directly, they might like, you know, take it wrongly and try and accuse me of bad mouthing them on YouTube or whatever, do you know what I mean, right? But let's just suppose, right, now I'm a guy, I live in these flats, right, and I'm a straight guy, right, and I read the Bible, right, I believe in God and all that, right, and I know that in the Bible, you know, where it says that, you know, the gay stuff is not allowed, right, that's common sense, isn't it? That's like, even if you haven't read a Bible, you should have common sense to know that, shouldn't you, really? That, you know, any of these things aren't really normal, right? You know, because it's like force feeding us to make us think it's right. And you know, someone's got to speak up, haven't they, right? But anyway, on my old channel, you know, when I put the video up, gay marriage is wrong, right? The amount of gay people that were watching that video, the views shot up, right? The views were like going crazy, right? It was being shared like wildfire. You can understand them all sharing it, right? And they were being insulting. I was getting people coming back to me. You know what? One lad once, you know, one of the lads did. He come back to me. You know, I was getting like threats. You know, it was on my old channel. They were actually threatening me, right? Gay folks were threatening me because I put a video up called "Gay Marriage is Wrong." So I've seen the other side of that as well, where they can be quite intimidating, and you know. Do you know what I mean? Just because people are gay, it doesn't mean they're not capable of being violent and stuff, is it? You know what I mean? But they were kicking off on me. They were actually insulting me and putting comments under me. One lad got back to me, right, and think about this. He wasn't even over... He was like, I'm 15 years old and I'm gay and I'm proud and you've got no right to say gay marriage is wrong. He's 15 years old and he's saying he's gay. I mean, what kind of world are we living in if he was 15 years old, right, and he's got a sex life? And he's gay. It's like a bit like twisted in the first place, isn't it? Right? That's the kind of stuff you see. If you put a video up on YouTube where you're mentioning gay marriage is wrong or anything like that, right? They all start ganging up on you, like. Do you know what I mean? And I had to take the video down eventually. I thought, I'll take that video down because I'm sick of these messages, you know what I mean? Right. But anyway, here's an example, right? I read the Bible. I'm you know, I believe in God or whatever, right? Everyone should know that, right? I'm not saying I'm the most righteous man on earth, you know what I mean? Far from it, you know what I mean? Just a normal dude, right? I'm not a preacher, you know what I mean? I'm not a pastor, you know? Right? But isn't it common sense that a person like me, you wouldn't put, like, homosexuals living, like, next door, would you? You know what I mean? You just wouldn't do it, would you? You know what I mean? Right? Well, just suppose, right, say I accept it where I go, I'm not going to be cruel to anyone, I'm not going to kick off on anyone, but if it's done to do me head, and it's actually done to intimidate me, to provoke me into a reaction, so that then they'll go, he's homophobe and that's against the law. Do you understand, right? Well, picture the scene, right, guys? Picture the scene. Supposing I've witnessed this, right? You know what I've said, where I've witnessed a lad in college pretending to be straight, right? Pretending to be straight to get girls, right? Just imagine, right? Say you've got two people who live next door to you, right? And they're both gay, right? Two men. There's only these flats, there's only one bedroom in these flats, right? Not all of them, we've got 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. I'm not sure, 2 bedrooms, I'm not sure, right? But anyway, in my flat and the ones around me, right next to me and stuff, we're all 1 bedroom flats, right? So you'd assume, don't you, right, that if 2 men are together, right, then they must be sleeping together and they're having, they've got a relationship going on, right? Are we clear there, right? So I take it that in their genes, they would claim that their XY genes is just completely gay. They don't, they don't want to be straight, they can't be straight because their XY genes say so, doesn't it, right? Well, just supposing, right, in the early hours, when people go out nightclub and they go out for a drink together or whatever, right? On my front door, there's a peephole. We've all got little peepholes, so we can see if any dodgy people are knocking on the door. You can look through the little peephole and see who's knocking on your door, right? We've all got peepholes on our doors, right? In my corridor, the next door neighbour's door is like to the left of my front door, you know what I mean? It's like my door's there and their door's there, right? So in front of me, there's like a hallway with a wall, that leads to the corridor. There's like a corridor right outside my door, right? So if we hear any noises and things like that, I know people are going into the flats and that. You get me? We can hear each other's going into each other's flats. There's not much privacy here. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, just supposing, right, I see 2 men, right, who have just come back from a nightclub, right? Two guys who I assume, I might be wrong, they might just be pretending to do me head, and they might just be playing a game to provoke me or whatever, you know what I mean? They could be straight as a die and it's just a wind-up, who knows, right? But anyway, these 2 guys come back from the nightclub, they've been out drinking or whatever in a nightclub, right? And they're both obviously pissed, intoxicated, right? They might have been on ecstasy tablets or whatever, I don't know. But this is the thing, right? I just heard the noise. I heard someone talking in my hall. I heard someone talking outside the front door, and I thought, what's going on there? Why is someone stalling there, right? So I look through my peephole, right? Imagine I just look through my peephole, right? And all I can see right in front of my front door is a girl, a woman, a chick, a bird, a woman, not a fella, right? This woman's leaning on the wall right in front of my front door as if she's heavily drunk, right? I could literally see her face was right in front of my peephole. I could see her right in front of me, the peephole, right? But coming from the front door where the flat next to me, right? I hear this voice coming from the door going, "Come on, come in, come on, you'll be all right, everything's all right. Come on, just come in." And this girl was like stalling. She was, she was like an adult. She might have been 18, 19. Very attractive girl, right? Very attractive woman. She's standing there, and the 2 guys are in their flat, like beckoning her to go in. They brought her home from a nightclub. There's 2 guys together, and there's a chick with them, like all of a sudden. So their XY gene just suddenly just disappears overnight and changes to straight all of a sudden, like. And the 2 guys are actually persuading the girl to go into the flat. Do you know what I mean? And she was obviously drugged or drunk, or she could have been on ketamine or anything. She didn't look right to me, right, folks? She's standing in front of my front door like this. Like, like her head was like moving, and she was looking at the guys in the flat going, "Come on, just come in. Come on, you'll be all right, come on." And eventually she goes into the flat and the door closes, you know what I mean, right? So let's put 2 and 2 together here, man. 2 dudes and 1 woman. Early hours, and she looks like she's being drugged or whatever, like. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? I think there's something. Gay people don't go with women, do they? Gay men. Gay men don't go with women, do they? Of course not. Because they're gay, aren't they? They don't like women, do they? They're not into them because that's what the genes say, isn't it? Right. So do you see where I'm coming from with that? Like, I'm 100% sure that girl was probably so drugged up she didn't even know she was there, like, until the next day. I don't know. I mean, they might have known and she was a relative or something, right? But why didn't she just go in straight away then? Why was she standing outside and she didn't want to go in? She was like, she was looking at them as if to say, I don't want to go in, I want to go home or something, you know what I mean? I'm right in front of my peephole, I couldn't miss it, you know what I mean? And I was looking at her face thinking, she doesn't look too happy here, man. She looks like she's drugged. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought, like, does that make any sense, guys? Anyone watching this, what do you think? You know what I mean? Comments. Dr. Solus is still there. What do you think, man? Why would two guys who claim to be gay take a woman home in the early hours after being out for a drink? It's like it doesn't add up, does it? You know what I mean? So anyway, I just thought I'd speak about that. Like, something I wanted to get off my chest. I want people to realise that, in my opinion, homophobia is not a crime. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go around beating people up and all that kind of stuff. Like, but these things are done to provoke me, aren't they? You know what I mean? But they didn't know I was watching that night. Do you get me? Like, I'm thinking, it's like checkmate on a chessboard, isn't it? If I see two guys take a chick home, it's checkmate, isn't it? They're deceivers, man. She was probably on some kind of drug, you know what I mean? She didn't look too happy, mate. She looked like she was almost unconscious, do you know what I mean? But she was on her feet. So it was a bit of a thought-provoking thing, that, isn't it, really? Okay. Now I'll just move on. I'll talk about this pandemic thing, right, guys? My opinion about that before I get off. I just wanted this to be a short one, you know what I mean? I want people to know that I'm a homophobe and I'm proud, but that just doesn't just go for gay folks, guys. I don't trust men, period, you know what I mean? Men have got to be really trustworthy and good to me for me to even trust them, you know what I mean? Obviously, people on YouTube and people we don't meet, we just got a mutual understanding, haven't we? Where we naturally just trust each other on YouTube. And we're all okay, you know your own, as we say. You know what I mean? You just know, don't you, when people are good, like, right? But I don't trust anyone in the physical world. You know, any males that want to get close to me, I'm always a bit weary of them. You know what I mean? Have you got a light? Right. So anyway, I'll just finish up with this. I'm talking about, this business, this pandemic, everyone's like kind of trying to work out what it's about, and it's obvious, right? I think the chemtrails are kind of releasing something into the atmosphere, right? And I think the smartphones are being used as the incendiary, you know what I mean? The incendiary that might make people think they've got the disease, and there's obviously something in it, isn't there? But right. But the whole point of all of this business, right, guys, it's one reason alone, right? The beast is rising, right? The beast system, right? Now, part of the beast system is accepting, that we shouldn't be homophobic and all that. Like, that's one of the moves in the beast system, right? And the other thing in this beast system is they're inventing this pandemic thing, right? The reason it's so severe and everything, it's just basically so that they can have laws, isn't it? If I go into a shop and I don't wear a mask, right? If I'm seen on camera, once they make it solid that they think that this is like, serious, once it's solid, rock solid in everyone's heads and that, like, right? It'll get to the point whereby if we're seen in a supermarket with no mask on a security camera, they can alert the authorities, and then the police can knock on your door and say, you wasn't wearing a mask and blah, blah, blah. We can fine you for that. Do you get me? This whole thing is about control. It's about being able to control us and arrest us for things that aren't even crimes, you know what I mean? So it's just like the homophobic thing, really. It's like to try and invent laws that aren't, like, real, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Same with the weed game, the cannabis game, the way they won't legalise that because they know that they can stop people with it and search them and take the, fine. They can issue fines. So what this is all about is if they're going to be fining people, aren't they, for not wearing masks and stuff, and so they're going to get some revenue from it, they're going to get some capital and money from it as soon as they get to the point where it's like the law if we're not wearing our masks or we're not, we're not accepting a vaccine and things like that, we'll be deemed as criminals, won't we, you see? And that's the whole point of it, that's the mission, that's what's going on. So that any of us who say, I'm not wearing a mask, you know what I mean? I mean, if I catch something and I'll deal with it and I'll be ill or whatever, and if I die, I don't actually care, you know what I mean? But other people, for them to, I've noticed, when you go in the shop and you're not wearing a mask, oh my word, the way people wearing the masks look at you, don't they? Some of them don't, some of them are okay, you know what I mean? But they're already instilling it in people's brains, aren't they? So that they look at you when you haven't got a mask on, you know what I mean, right? And here in Britain, our social security system, right? Hey, I'll actually show you if I can get it up, right? I'll show you before I get off. Like the difference between being allowed to wear a mask and not allowed to wear a mask is a little piece of paper with a message on it. You can have it printed out. I don't know if any of you's got this in America, right? Let's see if I can find it. I'll just go off my YouTube page, so I won't be able to read any comments. Right. Okay, just doing a little search here. Hold on. .gov, right? This is our website, .gov, where the government... Now, everyone should stop blaming the government as well. This is the beast. It's the beast. You've got to understand, it's the beast rising. All the military and everything's under it, isn't it? They had the army and everything ready to, stop us if we... Right, where is it, man? I'll go to .gov. Hold on a sec. Right, so there's the difference, right? In this, I'll just search, mask exemption card, right? Mask exemption card. Are you aware of this in America? Have you got the same thing? Right, I'll just shrink. And so you can see this, right, guys? Now, this is the difference between, if I go in a shop and they won't harass me if I'm just wearing one of these things. Right, I'll just search it. Right, here we go. This is our .gov. This is the website in England. This is what we like. Look, coronavirus. Just don't even say, you know what I mean? Just the word itself is a code to make us, think it over and over again, right? Now, there you go. Mask exemption card, right? You see the search, mask exemption card, right? Face coverings, exemptions, right? And there's the exemptions, right? And look what you do. If I don't have to, I don't have to go to any authorities. I don't have to go into any offices or anything like that, sign any forms or anything, right? All I have to do is print this. Where is it? The card. Look. We print this. Look. And then, look, it says fold here. There's the card, you cut it off there, you cut the card off there. So just this blue thing here, right, it says, be kind, keep your distance, thank you for understanding. And then there, I am exempt from wearing a face covering. This piece of paper, this blue piece of paper, is the difference between getting harassed in a shop for not wearing a mask and wearing one, do you understand? It's not even like official, you don't have to apply for it or anything, you just print it. And then you've got one. Do you see how kangaroo this is? How ridiculous it is? Do you know what I mean? I only have to have one of these printed out, and then they won't stop me in the shops or anything, or in the train stations or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm suddenly just this piece of paper will give me the right to not wear a mask. That's mad in itself, isn't it? It's not like you don't have to go and be interviewed or like when you get a passport or something. So just leave that with you guys. I just thought I'd let you know. I don't know what's like in America, what you've got to do in America. But is that crazy or what? You just print one of these and that's it. You've got it, like. And then you carry it around and that's it. Look, I am exempt from wearing a face covering. And there's one for your phone as well, look. This is the card. That's the one you print. You can actually wear it. And then look, there's one for your phone, look. For a mobile phone. That goes on your phone. Look at it, it's on the screen, on your touch screen or whatever, like. Isn't it silly? Look at it, anyone could forge one of these themselves, couldn't they? You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, isn't it? You see what I'm saying? So that's what they're up to, man. It's all about control. The whole thing is about control, right? And while they're at it, they're going to be able to fine us. You know what I mean? If we don't comply or whatever it is we're supposed to be doing, like. So it would be interesting to see what happens in the next few months, won't it? You know, it's sad. You know what I mean? They're putting small businesses out of business, aren't they? They're ruining people's livelihoods. They're bringing the country to its knees, guys. You know what I mean? And the worst thing we can do, you know, when people say you've got to go out and riot and start riots and stuff like that, or, you know, peace marches and all that. That'll probably turn into violence, won't it, you see? And it'll give the authorities even more power to say, we can arrest. It's all foretold in the Bible, like, you know, folks, when it says the children of Israel become obsessed with arresting people, you know what I mean? It's happening, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm exempt from wearing a mask because of my mental condition. When I wear a mask, it kind of, it sets me... I would wear one, it wouldn't bother me wearing one, but I don't feel right when I'm, you know what I mean? Because I've got paranoid psychosis, do you know what I mean? So when I go out into the public, I think things are going on even when they're not, you know what I mean? I can't help that, like. All right, I'll leave you with that anyway. I'll get off, because I don't want to be talking too late, you know what I mean? And yeah, any thoughts, any comments below? I'll be very interested to hear what you say, and it'll be interesting. I'll put the title, homophobia is not a crime, right? Or homophobia is not illegal, right? Because it's not, man. You know what I mean? That's another law that they're bending, right? And see how many people click on this video and start calling me a homophobe. Because I've, you know, me Johnny Lydon interview, my highest views on my channel. This is the reason I've done this speech, right, guys? The reason I'm talking about it. Like, it's not because I'm anti-gay or nothing like that. It's not about that. It's about the issue of, you know, things that are not illegal. They should be left alone, you know. And on me Johnny Lydon video, right, you know, because Johnny, it's me, the highest views there, it's like nearly 200,000 views now, you know what I mean? It's not monetized or nothing though, so I haven't cashed in on Johnny Lydon or nothing like that, you know what I mean? It shows him in a good light, doesn't it, right? But, you know, because he says gay marriage is wrong, he just says, you know, a marriage, parents should be a man and a woman, you know what I mean, right? And just because he says that, right, there's gay folks who leave messages on it going homophobe, you know what I mean, actually going mad about it, like. And he's quite a liberal-minded guy, Johnny Lydon, you know what I mean? I'm sure when he's in Glastonbury or places like that, he's okay with everyone, whether they're gay or straight, drag queens, whatever. I think he's one of those people you can, you know, I can't see it. He's not vindictive in any way, you know what I mean? But when he says gay marriage is wrong, mate, he's just telling it like it is. And before I go, I'm getting off now, okay? But before I go, and there is no Father Christmas. Father Christmas does not bring presents for the kids. So why bollock me as a child when I'm just telling the truth, which was just done now. I've just been telling the truth. I always tell the truth. If I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. You know, if I make any mistakes and I have to go back on one of my videos and retract it and say, look, I was wrong. How many times have I done that on my channel, guys? I've never done it, have I? Nearly every. I speak my mind and tell the truth the way it is, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'll say thanks for watching, the person who's watching live. So I'll post this up now so you can all watch it back, any of the viewers like, because I'm getting quite a few views on these live streams, you know, when I post them up, they go up to like 30, 40 views sometimes, you know, which is, you know, even if 2 or 3 people agree on watching one of my videos, it's good enough, isn't it, you know, because I'm just telling the truth, you know. Alright, so yeah, Father Christmas will not bring presents for the kids. And I nearly got battered by that. It was like she was going to beat me up. You know what I mean? Just for saying that, man. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we put this video up on it, and the title, like, homophobia is not against the law or whatever. All right, and it's a natural instinct. It should be in everyone, shouldn't it? If you just choose for yourself, don't you? You know what I mean? There are women who can't stand men, aren't they? You know what I mean? They end up being like sort of lesbian sort of thing, or, the companionships, they find companionship in each other kind of thing. It's because they can't stand men, right? They don't like men, and I understand that, you know what I mean? I can actually relate to that, like, you know what I mean? But, I'm quite liberal-minded in other respects, you know what I mean? But okay, I'll get off anyway. And thanks for watching, and it'd be interesting to see your opinions below in the comments section. Okay, folks, I'll be back soon. And don't let the authorities control us. Don't let the authorities control us. We'll all have to take that guillotine one day, I think. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.